Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining, making the time on this very wet and windy Thursday night. Storms are battering the windows here,
Mm.
like force 9 or something it was like.
Yeah,
So
because you're down south. Where are we? Oh, the trees are moving. Not much like yours, but
no, it's full storm here tonight.
wow.
Southwest is getting battered. So yeah, so nutrition, health, well-being, food, all the things that are going to keep us vital and motivated and on track to move through these really tumultuous times that we're in. And you know, there's lots of different things that I can share with you, and with each session that I'm going to offer, there'll be more information that comes in. If you don't know about my background, I do have a website and you can have a look at that. It's called sarmadosibley.com. And that website gives you an overview of my background. In a nutshell, 4 decades working with food, the past 2 decades working specifically on what I call conscious nutrition. So we've all heard the words vegan, plant-based, these kind of on trend kind of captions for what they or someone thinks we should be eating. Um, I work with what I call conscious plant-based nutrition because it's about increasing the amount of plants into your diet in whatever form. So that can be from foraging, that can be eating organic produce or growing your own sprouts and microgreens, adding certain supplements into your food and into your lifestyle so that you're doing something which is recognized now. I think the term is called biohacking. And biohacking means where you are taking a few different substances, maybe mixed together so that you get the best results. So that's the way that I work with food. I work with food as medicine so that whatever is going on with you, you can personally address what is specific to your current situation. So that could be mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual, or maybe even all four.
Mm.
But there are certain things that you can do to your diet or do to your lifestyle which are easy, cheap, and very effective, um, and to get some long-term results. Some of them are very simple protocols, and you can do those without having to spend a fortune on supplements and the latest food. Um, so it doesn't matter if you're vegan or you're a paleo or you eat lots of meat and you eat lots of fish and you like a full English or you like a green smoothie. It's really about being in a very positive, I know it sounds a bit cliched, but a kind of high vibrational state.
Mm.
Because when you choose to put certain foods in the body, you will not only detoxify naturally, but your consciousness will expand. And as we all know, as the veils are getting lifted on so many things that we've been experiencing in our lives, the right nutrition will really help you, particularly if there's things like fear, anxiety, overwhelm, low energy level. All of these kind of things can be supported with your diet. So, you know, if there's somebody that comes and they said, okay, I've got fear running, I've got anxiety running, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed with everything, and I'm struggling to manage right now, just with daily life. Well, the first things I would take out, and if you're not going to take them out entirely, please start to reduce them. And those things are what you probably know, what we already know. They're things like sugar. And when I talk about sugar, I'm thinking about white refined sugars. And they use that in not just sweets and cookies and the recognizable foods, but they sneak sugar into so many different food items. And so when we're consuming lots of sugar, they kind of suppress the emotions, kind of numb us out a little bit. But then if we're eating lots of white wheat products, you know, breads, cookies, pizzas, buns, scones, you know, whatever is your thing, if you're eating a lot of white flour products, those white flour products work like morphine. So they are in the same family as opiates. So if you're struggling to, because you're in a kind of mental overwhelm over certain things, if you're eating a lot of white wheat, it's going to suppress you, and it's going to make you feel quite tired, quite lethargic, quite difficult to focus or to concentrate on things, and your energy levels will be quite low. So one way to do that, and you know, it's always, if you share a problem, it's to share the solution too, you know. And so there's lots of other alternatives you can get which aren't white wheat. You know, you can use other different grains of pasta, let's say whole wheat pastas, spelt pastas, that kind of thing, and just limit the amount of those kind of foods you have in your diet. Because the more fruits, the more vegetables, the more green, living, colourful foods that you can get into your body, especially now at this time of year, you will stand a better chance of remaining healthy over the winter time than not. And, you know, classically or traditionally, especially in England, we're taught this time of year, it's cold outside, you want big, comforting stews and, you know, heavy, dense foods. Well, the thing is, this time of year being December, and you look at the calendar years, the 12 months, your metabolism is at its peak in the middle of the summer. So kind of June, July. That's when you got lots of energy. The days are long. There's lots of, well, lots of sunshine. You hope there's lots of sunshine, but you've got lots of energy to burn off all the calories and all the extra food you're eating. And that's when it's in your metabolism's at its peak. So when it comes to December, your metabolism is at its slowest. So it's easier to put weight on, it's easier to get lethargic, it's easy to not exercise. So the key to looking after your health at this time of year is, if you can, have your biggest meal of the day at lunchtime, you know, peak of the day. And so you've still got time to burn it off during the daylight hours. And then in the evening, just having soups and salads and eating lighter. I think it's, what is it, breakfast like a king, and then your lunch, yeah, so it's something like that, lunch like a king, and then dinner like a pauper, right? So the bulk of your food really wants to be at lunchtime, and try and get lots of colors. Try and get lots of colors into your diet. You know, that could be, you know, orange juice, or it could be dark leafy greens, or it could be carrots or beetroots, things that have what they call dark pigments in them. And so when you've got these, you know, sweet potatoes, avocados, spinach, broccoli, when you've got these bright or very dark colored fruits and vegetables, one of the reasons that they get such dark colors within them is because of the sunshine. The sunshine has enabled them to grow. So when the days are shorter here and we don't get so much sunshine, if you're eating those colorful fruits and vegetables, you're literally ingesting the sunshine internally. So I don't know, perhaps anybody listening to this recording afterwards that's not here tonight. There was a guy I was listening to quite a few years ago, and he was a nutritionist in Australia. And he was working with clients who had anxiety and depression. And so what he did, and it's a very, very quick way, you can turn the symptoms around. I tried it because I think it was probably about 8, 9 years ago, when I was in a difficult situation when I moved in here. And I had anxiety coming up. and I had depressive thoughts coming up, and I wasn't in a good internal place. Well, this nutritionist very simply was just juicing oranges, so fresh oranges and grapefruits. You could also use pineapple if you wanted as well. He was just juicing those fruits and getting his patients who had clinical depression to drink that juice on an empty stomach for 7 days. And after 7 days, their symptoms improved and the depression started disappearing. And why? Because you are literally drinking liquid sunshine and it will make you feel better. So if you're, these days it's been pretty grey. It's been wet here today, and I'd recommend trying that. Just a juice on an empty stomach is a really good starter. And if you can, try and get some what they call living foods into your body. You can get sprouts. I'll probably show you on one of the sessions that we do how to grow your own sprouts. Super simple. A jar, a sprout, or some sprouts, some water, done. Literally within 2 to 3 days, you've got your own sprouts in the kitchen. And so they're organic, they're full of protein, they're cheap, they're easy to grow. Literally 2 minutes is all it takes to grow your own sprouts. And so if there's any men on this call tonight, or listening to the recording, you can have things like mung beans, which are very good because they support the prostate and they're very high in zinc. And they're easy to digest and they're cheap, and you don't have to spend hours cooking. They're easy to find. Yeah. So that's one kind of way to look at foods at this time of year. And as I'm sure you're probably aware, there's a lot of protesting going on at the moment, which is only going to get more intense next week with the farmers. And so a lot of the produce that we are getting at the moment that comes through supermarkets isn't the best quality produce. So what I'm trying to recommend to all of my clients, where possible, is to try and support local farms, local farm shops, local health food stores, independent shops. I'll teach you maybe next month how to grow your own sprouts and microgreens, so you've got your own living foods in your kitchen. But just generally see if you can get foods from other sources other than the supermarkets. Box schemes are really good, and there's two big ones in the UK. One is Riverford, and I will try and Able and Colt is the other one. I think they're the two big national ones. So they're really easy. You can get a box delivered every week or every fortnight, and you'll get seasonal organic produce. Because in the beginning, everybody, lots of people would say organics are really expensive. It's so much more than conventional food. It is if you go to a supermarket. But when you actually look around, independent retailers or small organic growers or box schemes, what you will start to find, not with everything, but you'll find that you can get high quality produce that's organically grown, that's cheaper than what you'll find in the supermarket. So, that's really worth exploring, because it was only, I was in this habit recently of buying automatically. If I went to a supermarket, I'd buy these bags of unwaxed lemons, because if ever you're buying citrus fruit, always buy the unwaxed, just as a heads up. If you've seen the candles that you just buy off the shelf, the nice little wax candles, that's exactly the same thing that they use to wax your fruit. So if ever you're making those nice sponges and cakes in the kitchen and you're grating that lemon or you're grating that orange, you're actually grating wax into your food. So organic lemons, funnily enough, are actually cheaper from the organic shop than they were from the supermarket. And the supermarket ones were just conventional produce. So there's lots of different tangents I can go off on it now. But when you wake up in the morning, if you don't know, basically any illness, any inflammation that's in your body is basically down to your body being in a very acidic state. So you can hear two expressions. One's called acid and one's alkaline. So disease or disharmony thrives in an acidic environment. And health, vitality, thrives in an alkaline environment. So ideally, what we want to be doing is adding as many alkaline rich foods and drinks into our diet as possible so that we can support our body being healthy. That said, there's lots of other practices that we can do, like mindfulness, meditation, yoga, breath work, self-inquiry. You know, there's lots of different practices that we can do to remove the stress so that we're kind of in a calm state. Because when you change your food or when you change your nutrition, if you do that alongside a new exercise protocol, and it can even be just, you know, like a half-hour walk every day. It doesn't have to be a gym membership or, you know, regular yoga classes, but just physically moving the body, drinking 2 to 3 liters of water a day, and having healthy food is basically giving all of your body all of the support you need to be healthy. Because if you're eating the best food, but you're really, really stressed and you're anxious and you're uptight, then your body will go into an acidic state, even if you're eating really good food. So it's a good one to remember that when we change the food, we also want to bring in some new kind of different lifestyle protocols in as well. And the two of them work in harmony, and then you'll feel the benefits really quickly. So you're waking up in the morning, and the first thing, I mean, there's a couple of things. So one, when I was living in India years ago and I was doing trainings there, what they used to do in the morning was something called tongue scraping. Don't know if you've ever come across it.
Mm.
It's very cool. You can buy these little like copper wires that that you can buy online. Just Google copper tongue scraper. And so the first thing in India that you do from an Ayurvedic perspective, and Ayurveda is a form of medicine that they've been practicing for thousands of years. So when you wake up in the morning, if you've been sleeping with your mouth closed, all the bacteria, all the germs, they kind of built up in the mouth overnight. So when you open your mouth in the morning, you basically just scrape with this copper wire the top of your tongue. And then what you would do is you take a teaspoon of coconut oil and slosh it around your mouth. So you jump in the shower or you're going around the house getting yourself ready for whatever's going to come or who's going to knock on your door, Tara. And, and you're swilling the coconut oil around your mouth. And then after about 10 minutes of that practice, you then spit out that coconut oil. Now, this is preventative medicine. And this is where the nutrition comes in as well, because that, you know, coconut oil actually removes, it's antimicrobial, it's antiviral, it's antifungal. So if there's anything going on around your gum line, any infection, anything going on with your teeth, it's like a health insurance policy just by doing that practice in the morning for 10 minutes. you know, because it's so different. Because in the West, we look at a problem, or when we get a symptom, an illness or a diagnosis, and then we put a band-aid over the top, we stick a plaster on the top. We don't look at the root, we don't go to the cause. And so in Asia or in the East, it's very different. They look at the cause first, and you work with the cause so that you then don't have to put the band-aid on. So when you look at India and Ayurveda and where that originated, they don't pop down to their dentist to have a, dental hygiene session for ludicrous amounts of money. They're just doing this coconut oil pulling, and that's preventative. And that, hopefully that will reduce your dental bills if you've got them, or make your dental visits less frequent. Because if you're waking up in the morning and the first thing you do is you just swallow the water, or it's coffee or tea or whatever you're going to do, what you're actually doing is all of that bacteria that's built up in the night, you're basically swallowing it. And so then you may get stomach ache, intestinal problems, anything like that can be caused by you just taking that drink without you having that kind of cleansing routine. So that's a really good one to know. And then once you've finished you've done your tongue scraping, you've done the coconut oil, and then the third stage is where you just have a glass of warm filtered water with a squeeze of fresh lemon juice in it, and you just drink that on your empty stomach. And what that does is the lemon water is, well, it's a little bit like an electrolyte, so it energizes the body. It's alkaline, so if there's any acidity in the body, it will kind of bring things back into balance again. And then you're hydrating your body before you then have your tea or your coffee or whatever it is that you start the day with. But that way to start the day is really a really, really cheap, effective game changer before you even start thinking about what food you're going to have. Because what used to happen, or how we were living before, it's like you go to bed, you wake up in the morning, and then what did most people do? They get up, they drink, and they eat. And in Asia, they see that as being bonkers, literally crazy, because you've spent your whole night, hopefully, if you slept well and you've had a good 8 hours sleep, all of the energy that your body is reserving and preserving for the next day to get you through that next day, you're then getting up in the morning, you're having something to eat, having something to drink, and all of that energy that you preserved through the night is being used to break down that food that you just stuffed inside. And then by 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, you wonder why you're tired. So it's really good to wake up in the morning and start by liquids, preferably something that's not caffeinated, like the lemon water. If you are doing the coffee or tea, have that, and then eating mid to late morning as your first meal. And then you're actually doing something called intermittent fasting. Because the moment you go to bed and then you wake and then you do liquid and then you eat again, hopefully that should give you like an 11-hour window. And that 11-hour window of fasting, whenever you look into nature and see animals that have hurt themselves or being injured, they just do not eat. They just fast, until their body has recovered, and then they'll start eating again. And it's the same for the human. If we can give ourselves periods of time where we're not eating, then it allows the organs to detoxify, your energy levels to come back. And if there's anything healing that needs to happen, there we go. It all happens in that place. So has anyone got any questions so far?
When you say, sorry, come, Tara. No?
No, I was going to say, With regards to the orange juice, because I'm pretty much quite a good eater, the only thing I don't do is scrape the tongue and the coconut oil, but I have just heard that, so I'm
Right.
bringing that into play. I normally have a big meal around about, my daughter gets in about four-ish. We're normally eating our big meals about 4:30 because she's starving. Then
Yeah.
I don't eat again. I might eat a banana, but I don't eat again till the following morning. And then I wake up to some kefir, some nuts, and some flax seeds. But I bought the seeds, not the grounded stuff. So I've heard that's meant to be better. That was Barbara O'Neill who got me to do that. So that's what I've been doing. So
Yeah.
it sounds all right then for me with regards to, because I feel really low, feel really down, anxiety, overwhelmed. But I do feel like the book I am receiving all the goodness then, because I'm pescatarian too,
Okay,
all like
great.
vegetables. And I've now brought in mackerel fish because I wasn't eating the fish as much as I should do, and I love that. So I'm bringing that in. I'm eating that twice, three times a week now as well. And
Brilliant.
so I am feeling a lot better in that respect. So with regards to the orange juice, is it freshly squeezed or can we buy the carton?
Yeah, so ideally, if you can, I buy fresh oranges and squeeze them yourself.
Mm,
That would be the best one. Because sometimes those ready-made or those bottled orange juices, they make the orange juice and then they add sugar to it so
mm,
that it can sit on the shelf for longer.
okay.
All right, so fresh orange juice is really beneficial. The other thing is, great to hear that you're doing the flax seeds.
Mm,
A lot of people were buying, and I see it, in some health food stores, they sell ground flaxseed.
yeah,
Well, as soon as that flaxseed gets ground, all of the beneficial oils dissipate. So
yeah,
you're basically just eating fiber. So when you get the whole seed, either eat the seed whole or you soak it or you grind it and then eat it straight away. Um, because if anybody's been plant-based or if they've been vegan, over 90% probably of vegans or people on a plant-based diet do not have omega-3s, enough omega-3s for healthy brain function. And
mm,
that's the number one thing that we need in our bodies for the prevention of Alzheimer's and cognitive decline. And those figures in the UK are going through the roof. And,
mm,
I had an experience where I had to speak to a professional a couple of days ago. And some of these professionals, all they want to do is give you a pharmaceutical. They want to give you a drug. And then that drug then leads on to another one. And then that doesn't work. So they need to give you another one. And then before you know it, you're on 6 different pills. And the thing is, nature provides the answers. Nature has an abundance of what we need if we can listen. And so omega-3s, yes, we can find it in the fish. You can find it in hemp. You can find it in flax. Sea buckthorn is a very bright orange liquid that comes from the sea buckthorn berry. It's native to the UK. You can buy bottles of that. Because I think I shared in in the first kind of video that I did with Andy in the I Am community, is that over these past few years, since the beginning of the lockdowns in 2020, um, and there was a book that was written, which is very good, which is The Indoctrinated Brain. And it talks about how the hippocampus, which is in the brain, reduces in its size. And it reduces in its size where you basically pump a load of fear into the person, you cut them off from any social interaction, and you isolate a person. And so they knew when they had a population that they were doing a certain indoctrination program, that it would reduce the hippocampus. And when the hippocampus is reduced, you can't retain information. So you can't access the past, go in and into the memory bank and pull out some nice memories. And you also find it difficult to project into the future of what you want to experience. And the only way that you can turn that scenario around is by omega-3s. And so that's your fish that you're buying now. You know, you said you're buying oily fish. That's really great. And you can find some good supplements as well. Because if you're in anxiety or those anxious thoughts, I mean, we can all get them, I think, with what we're choosing to do now. You know, it comes out of nowhere. And the thing is, when we increase the amount of omega-3s in the body, what that does is it like oxygenates the brain. So it's almost like when we go into that anxiety, that kind of fight or flight, if it's not sensed physically, it's sensed mentally, is that the more oxygen there is that we're giving the body, that anxiety doesn't become the big scary gorilla at the door. You know, it can be more manageable. So when we oxygenate the body with good food, you know, because there's studies done when they say live body, live food. Live food, live body. So we can cope then, because it's like, you know, that anxiety, it's like crippling because you're only breathing from up here in your chest, and it's like, whereas when the whole body's oxygenated, it's a whole full body experience, and and that's what we need in our systems. And so I don't want to go too dark down the rabbit hole, but there's a reason why they've put foods that are cheap, readily available, easy to access all around us, because many of those foods that are easy to access and that are cheap, they are going to give us a certain perception of life and a certain perception of this experience we're in. You know, so you literally can program a person with what you put into the person. We know that. So we can turn it around into our favor, and we can reprogram with the good stuff. And when the good stuff comes in, you know, another cheap one, Tara, if you wanted to use it, you can get chlorella. You know, chlorella is an algae. You can buy it in tablets.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's really good, because that algae grows on the surface of the lake, and it's that's very beneficial because it's sun energy, and that oxygenates the blood. So anything, you know, whether it's salads or whether it's more bananas or whether it's colorful fruits or whether it's you know, bright soups, whatever it is that we can get in. Well,
I normally get about 16 a day. I challenge myself to see how many goodness I can put on a plate.
right.
I try and get as much as I possibly can in, but my daughter isn't a fish eater, and that's what concerns me with her. So it's Cruella, is it? Like Cruella de Vil from the Dalmatians. That's how I'm going to remember it.
So it's spelled, so just so that you can
And
remember that.
you put it in the chat, please.
Yeah, I'm going to pop it in the chat.
Thank you.
That's called chlorella. And there's another supplement, you know, and this is a plug because I've just invested money into it, because I've been working with it for about 20 years. And the friend of mine that imports it, he has been importing it. And this last shipment that we got in, they tried to destroy it in customs because they want to make it a banned substance. Because when they give it to animals, the animals don't need medicine. The animals don't need any pharmaceuticals because they become strong. And, you know, that's what we're seeing with a lot of these kind of very health promoting products out there, because if we take it, we don't need to use their stuff. And the beautiful thing of this one is called fulvic mineral. It's this one. And that, it's a liquid concentrate, which is alkaline. Reason I like it is because it's not on trend. It's not like the latest thing. It's not, you know, making crazy health claims. It's been used in Ayurveda for 3,000 years. It's known as the destroyer of weakness. And I've only been using this particular one, which is really potent, for about 5 days. And my energy levels have really gone up, because the way that it works is it's like an electrical charge to the cell. It goes straight to the cell and it activates the cell. And when that happens, it naturally detoxifies your body. So anything like cadmium, arsenic, lead, aluminium, mercury, that naturally flushes out when you go to the toilet. You don't have to take a week off work. You're not kind of in, you know, in a kind of uncomfortable, you just carry on with your usual day. But the beautiful thing about it as well is because it's a trace element, it contains all of the essential minerals and vitamins that your body needs. So you're literally detoxifying. So it's getting rid of all the stuff that you don't want, like the heavy metals that will contribute to the cognitive decline, but it's mineralizing you at the same time. So the body gets stronger. You wake up in the morning and the mind is clearer. And you can see how it works, because when you take the dropper, you put 8 drops in some water and it creates like a vortex. It kind of spins to the bottom of the glass and it looks like a glass of whiskey, but it's not going to get you drunk. But it's doing that same thing in your body. It's like a vortex. So it's just pulling everything together and pulling it out. So if you are interested, it's on the website. That's the one that I would go with, because that's the kind of thing that you can use where if you're on pharmaceuticals, you can use it. If you're on other supplements, you can use it. And there's no contraindications. So you can't overdose on it. And, you know, I did an interview yesterday for a UK health radio, and the lady there has been using it for 5 days. And she was saying how beneficial. She said, I just feel so strong, so energized, and my mind's clear. And it's what nature provides. It doesn't come out of a factory. You know? So there's lots and lots of things that we can do for our health now, because as we know, the systems are not there unless, you know, if we're in an emergency, it's great to know that there's somewhere where we can go. But in terms of normal day-to-day health, when you speak to a GP and they'll admit it themselves, in all of their training, they probably do 5% around food and nutrition. So they don't know how it works. They don't know how it works in your body. And yet it's bonkers, because it's the one thing that you're doing day in, day out, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. You know, if you put junk, you can't put, you know, orange juice in your petrol tank. The car's just not going to go anywhere. You've got to put the right fuel in. And, you know, in the 1970s, we were eating a lot, you know, our foods were very different. But we're on a Zoom call tonight. We've got computers and technology. And so on one level, we've upgraded our technology, but we haven't upgraded the foods that we're putting into the body. So we're trying to run at a really high level, but we're not giving that same amount of fuel to the body to support it in these times. And to be honest, in my, with my work and doing all of the work that Andy's kindly sharing with us through the platform, that requires more. It requires more energy, it requires more resilience, finding the courage to address certain things. It's coming from all angles. So we really need to get all of the different things that we can into our body. And I think one of the simplest ones is water, good quality water. If you're drinking mains water, well, it's time to get a jug. It's time to get a filter, because what comes out of the tap, particularly if you're in a city, the average glass of water has been through the body 8 to 10 times before it's arrived at your tap. Exactly. And we know all the different drugs people are using now as well. So that all comes through the water supply. So if you get yourself a good filter, and if you haven't got a good filter, buy spring water or some mineral water, hydrate yourself that way, because a lot of the issues around health come from either dehydration or inflammation. And just going back on the fulvic, that also works on the inflammation. So if you've got any inflammation in the body, that reduces it.
And that's okay for 12-year-olds.
It's okay for 6-year-olds, because it's from nature. It actually comes from organic soil, and it's the liquid that comes from the soil that they then concentrate and bottle. So it's a naturally occurring substance, and it was actually what was in our food supply before they started leaching out, or sorry, not leaching out, but spraying all of these chemicals on the food. And they not only spray chemicals on the food, but they don't remineralize the soil. So you're getting something that looks like a tomato, or looks like a banana, or looks like an apple, or whatever it is, but it's purely there in form and shape, but it doesn't have the nutrition. And that's why, I'm a strong advocate of supplementing, because our diets are not what they were. The quality of our food is not what it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And when you look at people that lived in the I saw an image the other day, people at the beach in the 1960s, people are looking good, because if we're buying food, manufactured food, processed food, fast food, all of these kind of things, we don't know what's in it. And they stick all kinds of stuff in it too. Rapeseed oil, whatever you do, try and avoid the seed oils, because seed oils are the ones that are giving people cognitive decline and Alzheimer's. Seed oils are giving people inflammation in the body.
So what sort of oils would you use then? Because obviously, if you're going to buy an oil to, I don't know, it's a lot of people still use oil for frying and stuff like that. A lot of people use sunflower oil. Is that good? Is that bad? Because that's a seed, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right, Andy. It's a seed. So if I was doing anything, if you're cooking at high temperature, olive oil and coconut oil. And the thing is, traditionally, and I know, I'm kind of future thinking here, but when we used to eat deep fried foods, if we went to the fish and chip shop, foods used to be fried, like fish and chips would be fried in beef tallow, beef fat, the good stuff, lard, nice bit of lard.
That's what I use. I make my own homemade chips, and I cook them in organic grass-fed tallow. That's what I use.
Do you?
It's beautiful, yeah. And avocado oil, cold pressed avocado oil, you can do at a high, cook at a high. I use that as well.
Yeah, loving that.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, and I've just had some ghee come, so I'm going to try that with something.
Beautiful.
But the tallow is Gorgeous. Hunter and Gather, I think it is the website I get it from.
Okay, amazing. I'll
Yeah.
check that out. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, because, you know, that was another myth that they told us that saturated fats were bad. You know, we need those fats. And now when you look at all the studies, you know, around nutrition and our ancestors and how they used to eat, fat was a vital. We need fat for the brain. We need fat for our ligaments, for our joints, for our flexibility, you know, for maintaining our muscle strength. You know, it's vital. So
Sounds right. I think it's almost like when people say, "Oh, I'm going to Lurpak," or whatever. I say, "No, no, no. Pure butter. Get pure butter
yes,
because that's the only thing that's really good for you. Margarine, no. Um, I think it's called butter, maybe not. But for me, it's just all about you've got to have proper butter. I mean, that's all we ever had when we were kids. We used to go to the farm, have butter. We used to slather it on our bread. We used to have beef dripping sandwiches. You know, it's never harmed us.
no, it's good stuff.
Mm.
It's really, really good stuff. Because the thing is, a lot of, you know, when we see how these organizations run and you can see the corruption within these systems,
Mm.
a lot of these studies that came out, it, you know, follow the money. Who was that funded by? Because
Mm.
some of them have a vested interest in telling you that, you know, beef tallow's bad, but actually they've got investment in some sunflower plantation that's going to start making, you know, frying oils. But so I haven't used the beef tallow at home, but extra virgin organic coconut oil I use a lot of, and yeah, the coconut oil, and I use extra virgin olive oil as well. You know, so I think if you've got some good fats in your body, they're going to help build your immunity, get you strong, see you through these winter times, and yeah.
Well, when going back to the coconut oil, I've got tubs of coconut and it's obviously solid. Can you just put a spoonful of that in your mouth and swirl it around? Or is it best? Because I've just looked on the excuse me, Amazon, and just see what they got. And they do coconut oil with mint.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's all I see. There's a lot of that coconut oil, 100% organic coconut oil with mint for fresh minty breath.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do that. You could have that
Mm.
one. I mean, when I get it at home though, I just get the extra virgin coconut oil, just the plain
Mm.
one, because
Yeah.
I use it for cooking. But then what I'll do is I'll take some of the coconut oil and I'll melt it as a liquid.
Mhm.
Then what I do, Andy, is I get some peppermint essential oil,
No, I've got some of that.
put that in. I also put clove oil and I put cinnamon oil. And so, because back in the day, um, there was an oil that they used apparently in the plague, and they called it thieves' oil. So that those that were kind of getting sick around the plague, there was this, you know, a theory or a story that they could protect themselves from the thieves stealing from them as they were dying if they covered themselves in these oils. So these oils have antibacterial, you know, antiviral properties. And so if you've got any issues with your gum, clove oil. So yeah, melt a bit of coconut oil, bit of clove,
Mm.
um,
I'll
and
do
you
that.
can craft your own.
Mm.
Yeah, try it. It's
Good
really,
idea.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's just so many natural remedies out there. It's crazy. It's
yeah.
just unfortunately we have to like everything, we have to relearn a lot of this. And it's only when we come to people like yourselves who give us that information that's whoa. As you know, the last time everybody's jaws hit the floor last time. So
Yeah, it's fascinating because there's so many things out there. Um, there's so many things out there that are so simple that we can apply. And I think we've just made things really complicated as well. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that's available for us really is on our doorsteps, you know, and we can forage for certain plants, for certain herbs, you know, and use those in our kitchens. And, you know, I could list a load of different things that we've been foraging this year, but it's free food, and it has a concentration of minerals and vitamins, you know, and you can start making things in your kitchen, you know, you can start making ferments, you know, start making drinks and sauerkrauts and cultured vegetables, and you know, they don't require a lot of skills. They're really simple recipes and they're really easy to learn, and you leave them in the kitchen for weeks and they do their own thing, and then 3 weeks later you come back and you've got a finished product, which is going to be life enhancing and improve your health. So there's, you know, it's really how far you want to go with it, but the answers are in nature for sure. Yeah. And with that in mind, Andy, because I know we're up to time, so I'm open for any questions if anyone's got any. But I was going to send you a bottle of these, Andy, and then you can try them. You and Jen can have a go.
Yeah, because Jen's struggling a bit again with inflammation and everything else. So anything that we can get into to try and help her with, that'd be fantastic. So that'd be perfect.
Amazing. You'll really like that. Yeah.
Right.
So if you just email me your address.
Yeah, we'll do. And like I say, we'll use that as the energy exchange to help you with your issues.
That's one.
Right. That's why it should be.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you.
So I'll email you my address, and obviously you just come back with the dates and times you want to do one-to-ones, and we'll get those organised as well.
Cool. Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, thank you for that, Andy. Yeah, it's a pleasure. I mean, I just love, you know, I love being able to share the information, and I love, you know, whether it's a recipe that someone tries or just a protocol, and it really makes a shift for them and it really supports them. That's what it's all about.
Last time, I know we're on time, but like last time when we were talking, you mentioned like wormwood and black walnut. Next day, it was here, but is in my house the next day because I tried it, and my God, it don't half help give you a good clean out. I tell you, if you want to detox and have a parasite cleanse, try that stuff together. My God, it's good.
Yeah, it's fast track, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, literally, I'd never run so fast. No. But that was a really good way of doing it, because for me I felt so much better taking it. I've come off it again now because you can take the black walnut every 2 weeks, or you can only burn it for 2 weeks. I've stopped it again now, but it just, like I say, not so much to clear out, but it made me feel better in myself, knowing the fact it got rid of a load of parasites and whatever else was in there. So for me, that was another good way of looking at it. So it's, I say, I think we've got to do regular parasite cleanses. We really do. But I love the idea of the coconut oil around the mouth, because I've got a problem at the moment, broken tooth, and I can feel it's getting sore. So I think I'm going to try that tomorrow. I've got some clove oil, I've got some mint and whatever. I'm going to try that tomorrow. Start doing that.
Yeah, it's really good, because it's those kind of things that if it's broken tooth, you're not going to get like a bacterial infection. And it's something just mentally that you're doing to,
I'm going to create that abscess.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Sorry, I'll take time. Anybody else got any questions they'd like to go through with this fine young gentleman?
I have. My dogs are barking. Yeah, so my son's 24. Going back when he was 5, so nearly 20 years ago, they got the psychologist in, and it was, I think he's ADHD, the usual. Right. Should we give him tablets? No, I don't think so. So I went away, took him off all the colours, all the flavourings, all the usual stuff. Anyway, it took ages, it took months, and I narrowed it down to what was sending him through the roof was pineapple, which you think, oh, that should be fine, and tomato-based stuff. So I started researching into salicylates and oxalates.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like you were saying, some people can't have a lot of oxalated foods because they cause inflammation and aches and pains. Like, the Dr. Sally Norton, is it? I don't know if you've seen that book.
Yeah.
So I don't know what do you do things, do you advise on that, or what, what's your take on that really, on those sort of foods?
Yeah, I do is the answer, Jane.
Yeah.
I do advise on those because back in the early days when plant-based was all the rage and everybody's going vegan, that the direction was people drinking kale smoothies, nut cheeses, chia seeds for breakfast, just like a lot of ingredients that are not indigenous to the UK in large quantities with no protein, with no nutritional advice. You're really setting yourself up for difficulty big time.
Yeah.
And so now what's happening is we're seeing the after effects of all of those ingredients, and those oxalates. I mean, you can list pretty much A to Z of a lot of symptoms can be traced back to oxalate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's terrible, really.
Yeah. And I've heard, and so once you know that it's the oxalate, yes, you can detoxify it from it. But that can be quite, that's pain-free. That can be quite problematic.
Yeah, you have to go slow, don't you? Because you can have oxalate dumping and all sorts.
Yeah. And it's so crazy that we're having to deal with these kind of things.
Yeah.
But I think, the other side of it is in terms of the production of some of these foods as well. As I shared in a call not long ago, a friend of mine is a water expert, and he'd gone to Spain to work with a farm because they wanted to put water filtration in there. But everybody that was growing the food was wearing hazmat suits on the field, spraying the crops. And when my friend went to pick or even look at one of the peppers, he got screamed at because those peppers were highly toxic. And once they're picked, they have to go into a chamber for 3 days to release the toxicity before they then get packed and shipped. And then people are going to eat those.
Terrible.
With your son, with pineapple, pineapple production is also a very expensive and resource intensive form of growing because, you've got a huge plant with one fruit, which requires a lot of water. And for them to, a lot of chemicals go into those. You probably know this already, but pineapple's got bromelain.
Yeah, which is good for inflammation. But for his case, I used to have some. It used to be actually on the ceiling. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Nobody believed me because it was 20 years ago. They thought I was nuts. They said, no, it'd be colours. I'm like, it's not. I'm telling you, it's pineapple and it's tomato stuff.
Yeah. Because pineapple is high concentrated sugar as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people think juicing is great. Well, a lot of them are taking fruit juices. And so they're just, they're not losing weight if that's their goal.
Yeah.
But in terms of nutrition, it's such an interesting one because I had a client who was a Harley Street doctor and she was in her late 50s and I was on the retreat. And so every day, most days, there'd be recipes with nuts in because it was all plant-based. She couldn't eat them because she had allergies. She had her EpiPen, but after 5 days, she said, I want to try some. She tried the nuts and she had no anaphylactic shock. She had no symptoms. Why? Because from that nutritional mindset, nuts are nuts. But actually, if you soak them in filtered water and you use probiotics and ferment them, the structure of the nut is completely different and it doesn't have all of the harmful additives in it. So she spent her whole life not being able to eat nuts, and then suddenly at 58, she's like, I can actually eat them.
That's good.
Yeah. So there's always new discoveries. And yes, I do work with, all of this kind of thing because for some clients, I'm creating menu plans.
Yeah. So what do you do? Test them, or is it tests? Because you obviously can test, can't you? Like oats tests and things like that.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I personally don't. So if the client is testing, and I can give resources for that where they can get those tests done, and then I create the kind of menu or the the recipes, you know, with the shopping list.
Yeah.
So you then don't have to get your head around what to eat and what not to eat.
Yeah.
So that part of the equation's taken out. So basically, you just have to cook and eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because now he doesn't eat much pineapple now. But if he has, we've had a tomato-based stew tonight.
Right.
So he's had that. He's still living at home. Tomorrow it's my birthday, so we're going out for an Indian. So it might be probably tomato-based tomorrow. So it'd be interesting to see after 2 nights, because he doesn't now. Obviously, he's not running around, but he gets quite argumentative, and I can always tell if he's had too much tomato-based stuff now. It's the argumentative and the like, just being grumpy, even now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know whether tomato is also the same family as tobacco. So tomatoes contain nicotine.
Yeah.
And, and I recently found this out the other day, there were suggestions that you shouldn't have certain foods because they're inflammatory. Potatoes, nightshades, courgettes. Actually, it's actually around the other way. Those foods are actually got the chemicals that will heal the body.
Yeah.
But so when it's tomato, if somebody's trying to stop smoking, as an example, stop cigarettes, they should take tomatoes out of their diet as well.
Okay, yeah, makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's fascinating. It'd be interesting to see how your son gets on.
Yeah.
We've got to shoot off because we've got to go and pick up my van. They're here to pick me up. So thanks,
That's all right.
Sarmado.
Yeah.
Catch you later. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you later.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like I said, I've done loads of research over the years, and I'm actually training now. I'm doing some functional medicine training. So it's all about intuitive eating and the oats test and the Dutch test and different blood tests. So I'm finding it all really, really interesting. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because there's always new information.
Yeah.
Constantly evolving, and it never stays static, and you can never say, right, I know everything.
Yeah. And it's like one diet won't, there's obviously the carnivore diet, and then we've got vegan extreme. I personally think, people who say you've got to go on the carnivore diet, that won't suit everybody, will it? It can't, because we're all so different. We've got to intuitively eat to a certain extent, I think.
Yeah, and so that's where, because back in the day I was teaching different modalities. Raw vegan was one at one kind of period.
Yeah.
But the thing is, everybody is unique.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different life story.
Yeah.
Different from, family setup or lifestyle. And then we've got what's happening with us presently, what's going on for us spiritually.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we're not in the right space to receive the information from certain foods.
Yeah.
And so, it's like with vegan, going back on the oxalate thing, I've had a lot of clients that have been vegan or plant-based for a while and have a lot of health issues that are oxalate related.
Yeah.
But would not then choose to bring in certain things which would alleviate their symptoms because
the mindset,
vegan, it's like, but yeah, that's what it,
Yeah. What do you think about raw milk as well? I've just found a dairy half an hour away from me. And my friend who was a vegan, she's now drinking it every single day. And she's like, there's so much goodness in it. So I'm like, you read both sides, don't you? So I don't know whether to try it.
Well, so back in the day when it was raw vegan that I was teaching, there was so much propaganda that everything was factory farmed, all the animals are abused. And then I had to go and do some exploration, and there's a lot of cows, there's a lot of farmers, there's a lot of people that are kind and compassionate who look after their animals and produce nice milks and cheeses.
Yeah.
And I found out actually only this morning, the royal family, they only drink raw milk.
Really, I'm not surprised then. I'm not surprised with that if it's really good for you. Because
Yeah,
we
because
always,
no pasture, because as soon as pasteurization came in, that's when osteoarthritis,
yeah,
the bone density issues. So everybody was saying, "Oh, dairy's the culprit."
yeah,
No, it's the quality of the dairy that's the culprit.
yeah,
And I used to drink raw milk kefir,
yeah.
and in terms of my mood and my mental thinking, because it's so full of tryptophan, oh, I was on top of the world.
Yeah, I'm going to go and get some next week. I'm
Do it.
off. I'm going to
Do
go and
it.
get some. But then they say, don't they, dairy stuff's very inflammatory. But again, is that what they're doing to it?
Yeah, so that's the thing. When I get any of these statements, where is the information coming from? Because from an Ayurvedic perspective, if I were with my constitution, it's not good for me to have too much dairy in my diet because it's heating for my body.
Yeah.
One of the health issues I had was eczema.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a skin related issue like dermatitis or eczema, you shouldn't have any dairy.
Yeah.
It can be inflammatory for those things. But then I could have 10 years of a little bit of raw, organic dairy.
You're okay.
And I'm great.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. We've just got to see ourselves, haven't we, how we are on everything. Like you say, everybody's so different. We can't sit to one specific diet or protocol.
Because that's written by one person.
Yeah.
With their experience,
and
it's worked for them, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody else.
Yeah.
And so the great thing is, and if you're doing functional medicine, you can have a look at all these different studies. And for me, it was looking at Ayurveda and Chinese medicine and macrobiotics and getting myself in a really good place.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't, it still continues. There's loads more.
Yeah, I love it. I've been doing it for years. I love it. I'm studying genetics at the moment because it's all about methylation. Finding that a bit hard, but I'm like, come on, Jane, I can do this.
Yeah, that's so cool. There's great stuff out there, isn't there?
Yeah, really good. And Tara, I'll tell you what is good, and you'll probably say the same. For anxiety, I don't know if you're on medication. I don't think it affects medication, but I'm not 100%. Passion flower is fantastic for. I've been using it because I've had really terrible anxiety. It's fantastic. Passion flower, a Vogel I use twice a day. I do it once, like in the morning, once before I go to bed. Drops, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Could you put in the chat for me, please?
Okay. Are you on any medications?
No, I'm not. The only thing I'm taking is the I can never say the word properly. Ashwagandha.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm on, which is herbal.
Yeah. That's all right.
They want to put me on antidepressants. I did take them. I don't want to take them.
I'll put it in the chat.
That'd be brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do rather than going on to that.
Correct.
There's so many other things, Tara, because once you get onto those medications, they're really difficult to come off.
I'm not on any medication, and funny enough, I've had my bloods done, and I'm running really, really well. Good. So my kidney function is good. I've got no cholesterol. I've got no diabetes shown, even though I was having about 20 cups of tea with a tablespoon of sugar in. I'm still running all right, but to be fair, I've cut that all out now. So I'm only on the herbals, I'm on the water, and I'm on decaf. But at the time, I was still running on 20 cups of tea with a tablespoon of sugar in it.
Oh, wow.
But I'm not a sugar person, so I don't really eat cakes. I don't like chocolate, but in my tea, I do like a bit of sugar.
Nice.
But, oh my God, thanking you.
Great. Thanks, Jane. There we go.
Yeah, antidepressants. Yeah, they put me on those 2013, and it took me 3 years to get off them, and that was coming down 10% a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's full on, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really full on. Well done.
Yeah, awful. Well, they gave me have you heard of gabapentin?
Yeah, I have.
They gave me gabapentin. I was only on it for 7 weeks because it messed me up so bad that I had to go on antidepressants, anti-anxiety. It was that bad. Yeah, it messed me up. That went on for 5 years altogether.
Yeah. So I don't know how how they're able to get away doing what they're doing is just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter is actually a nurse. I'm sorry.
No, you carry on. Okay.
So my daughter's a nurse in a GP surgery, and she's very awake, so it's very hard for her. She doesn't have to give any COVID jabs, but she has to give other vaccinations. But she's had people coming in crying with all the jabs, crying what they've done to people. She's hearing it all the time.
Yeah, it's disgusting, and it's like that. What do you call it? The elephant in the room. We all know what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's hard for her because she can't comment. She can't say, I know, because she'd be sacked. She just says, I've heard this, this is quite common. I'm hearing this quite a lot. And that's how she can't comment. She can't say, please don't take any more vaccines. What are you here for? Shingles one? Why are you having this? You're pregnant. What are you doing? She can't do anything.
Really difficult. I don't know how. Yeah.
So it's hard for her because she's like living in two worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tricky.
Yeah. I think she will eventually come out of it because her heart's not in it, obviously.
Sure. Yeah. I kind of, because I know people in the NHS as well that are working there. One of my clients, actually, I'm going to have to go in a minute, but she was a client of mine, and she's a mother, young daughter, and she was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2019. And she's a single mum, so she was trying to raise a daughter, but she was working as an NHS quite high up as a nurse. And once the diagnosis came through, of course, she was worried that she wouldn't be able to pay the bills, and she had to pay for the treatments for the brain tumor. The doctors had given her, I think it was 9 months to live. So she was having to go through this awful process and find the money for all of the treatments. And she finally got through the operations. They healed the tumor, or they removed it. And as soon as that was removed, she then went back into the NHS early 2020 to, carry on working and to do a job. And at that point, she was told, to keep your job, you need to take the jab. So she took all 3, and she's now not able to walk properly.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's a client of mine in Wales, and and this is what they do, and there's nobody being called to justice.
No, it's beyond me. It's beyond me. Normally they take off vaccines if they do harm between 5 or 6 people. Sure, that they used to do. They took it off the market, but this one they're still obviously trying to get it into their ovens.
Yeah.
They didn't do any testing, did they? They just needed to get it out there.
Yeah, my daughter actually walked out of her job. She said she was the only one. She was the youngest at the time, 22. And they were all, can you sit on this Zoom, speak to this doctor, do this, do this. One of her bosses actually said, because she was community at the time, one of her bosses said, I wouldn't want you treating one of my family members going in their home.
Oh.
She left. She's gone back, but she didn't have any. And she'd only qualified about 15 months before.
No. Wow.
She says, thank goodness I didn't. I knew she wouldn't anyway, but she was the only one who never had a day off either. So she was going into up to 16 people's houses, going into nursing homes, coming home to us. We were all absolutely fine. Everybody else was ill, and they went, you're the only one who hasn't had that jab. And she went, and I've not had a day off. It was so obvious.
Mm.
Yeah, these days, you know, it's going to come out. It's got to. It's
Yeah.
got to happen.
Mm.
You know, so I just pray that they get called to justice.
I think Andrew Wakefield, isn't he? He's in America. He's just brought a film out. He's trying to expose it. He was a doctor that had to go to America because he was just being discredited over here, and he was talking about the vaccine and everything like that. But I think he's just done a film out, so I think it's all coming out already, and there's lots of people that are contesting it, but it's just they don't highlight it in the news. So you don't think that there's anything going on, but I think there is a lot. But at the same time, they're still trying to put it in people's bodies, which is just beyond.
But they are making loads and loads of bird flu vaccines at the moment, like loads of them, millions of them.
I saw that too.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're all up to it, aren't they? You know, so I think that's another reason why I'm talking about the health and the food and the nutrition. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
we need to be strong. You know,
Yeah.
these times are testing us.
Yeah, but I'm definitely interested in the growing of the sprouts and things like that. That sounds great.
Oh, well, the calls are going to be. I think I'm going to do once a month, Jane. So
Okay.
I'll share recipes and resources and
Yeah,
you know,
great.
loads of
Brilliant.
stuff. Yeah,
I'll
please.
check your website out. Yeah, really good. Really enjoyed tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you do go on the website, if you sign up to the newsletter, you'll get a free ebook, and there's some recipes in there. They're really
Okay, I'll do that. Brilliant. Thank you.
lovely to meet you.
And you. And we'll have a good Christmas, everyone. And we'll see you next. It'll be next year then,
Already?
2025.
I know, mad.
Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, same. And thank you, Cara. See you
Thank
both
you.
soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.